The question is that the motion be agreed to. I call Kelvin Davis to
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tēnā rā koe, Mr. Speaker, tēnā rā koutou e te whare. Mr. Speaker, it gives me pleasure to speak on the Māori Purposes Bill. A bill, as the Minister has so eloquently described, the way it's going to help assist the Wīpere Trust to fulfil its obligations to its beneficiaries. Just as a bit of a background around Wiremu Pere, or Wīpere as he was known, a man born on the 7th of March 1837, 3 years before the Treaty of Waitangi. He went on to become a leader of his people and a member of Parliament, elected, I think, in the 9th Parliament for the first time in 1884. He lost the seat in the subsequent election to Turi Carroll and the next election, but when Turi Carroll stood down to contest the general seat of Gisborne, Wīpere won his seat again in, I think, the 12th Parliament and carried on for 4 terms. When he passed away, Sir Apirana Ngata said there was no man that had done more for his people, and that is a huge accolade. In 1899, he established the Wīpere Trust to protect his land and interests for the benefit of his descendants. The trust, 117 years later, is still going strong, and the changes to this bill will help the trustees in the Incorporated Trust Board to continue the great work that he started all those years ago. The Māori caucus of the Labour Party was honoured to be hosted by the members of the Wīpere Trust about 5 or 6 weeks ago. We were able to see and visit the land holdings. They took us around 2 blocks where they're farming sheep and cattle, and I must say some fairly rugged East Coast country. We came across shepherds mustering huge flocks of sheep on horseback, and you have to take your hat off to the conditions that those guys work under. Obviously they enjoy their job and the freedom of the outdoors. We also visited the persimmon orchards, kiwi fruit orchards. We saw the vineyards that they have an interest in, citrus orchards. The Wīpere Trust also have interests in marae. Some of the benefits that distributed to their beneficiaries are each year. For each year, there's a $30 payment. There's education benefits. There's an age grant for everyone over 60 years of age gets a $200 grant. Everybody who's a beneficiary. Everybody who's over 80 years of age gets a $300 grant. There's tangi grants to assist with the substantial costs of tangis, and these are all part of the legacy that Wīpere left for his descendants. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the Wīpere Trust stands as an example to other whānau and other hapu and other iwi right throughout the country as a way to administer lands for the benefit of the people. So I have to stand and applaud the Trust and of course applaud the ancestor Wīpere who began it all. The bill was not without its critics, Mr. Speaker. There were some people, and I'll just go through a couple of the issues raised in submissions. There were concerns that the Trust's consultation with the beneficiaries on the amendments was inadequate or rushed. There were submissions that the amendments in the bill do not align with the purpose of the Trust. There are submissions that the board will become more corporate to administering the Trust. And there were concerns around potential loss of land if the Trust was used for investment purposes, and there were a few other issues raised as well. There's one issue, and it's in terms of it's a bit of friction between the High Court, the use of the High Court and the Māori Land Court, and I'll just refer to this one submission And that's where the submitter says, I'm concerned about the limited jurisdiction of the Māori Land Court and the powers conferred on the High Court in the bill to be the preferred court that interprets and applies the law for the Wīpere Trust. This is first seen in Part 2, Section 5.2 and 5.3 of the bill, where it states, quote, the High Court has jurisdiction to determine any dispute relating to the administration and governance of the Wīpere Trust, unquote, and quote, the Māori Land Court has no jurisdiction to determine any dispute relating to the administration and governance of the trust. The submitter goes on to say, in my opinion, the Māori Land Court should be the preferred judiciary to determine any dispute relating to the administration and governance of the trust. I say this on the basis of two key points. Firstly, the Māori Land Court has expertise in Māori customary law, whereas the High Court does not. And secondly, the costs associated with lodging a dispute before the High Court is cost prohibitive, which will severely limit and disadvantage the ability of shareholders to access justice. So just to explain, the High Court is the court that it costs more money. The cons of using the High Court is it costs more money for people to put their foot through the door. The pros of using the High Court is that a decision is made a lot more quickly. And for a trust like the Wīpere Trust, it is a business. They want decisions made quickly around their business. They want them to be made as speedily as possible. Of course, the Māori Land Court is a lot easier financially for people to get their foot in the door. I think it's about $50 plus GST to get in the door of the Māori Land Court. However, decisions are made a lot more slowly. And so there is a friction there between a business doing business quickly, getting decisions made quickly, whether the decisions go in favour of the trust or against, it doesn't really matter. I guess what they want is decisions made so that they can carry on with business in whatever the decision is made, however it goes. For whānau, though, who may not be all that well resourced, this does mean that their access to courts may well be jeopardised, and that is the real friction in terms of using the High Court or the Māori Land Court. To that extent, during the committee stages, the Labour Party intends to introduce an SOP under the name of Meka Whaitiri that would remove sections 5.2 and 5.3 so that the Māori Land Court has jurisdiction to determine disputes related to administration and governance. The High Court would still have jurisdiction over general land acquired by the Trust, but we don't believe that it should have jurisdiction over land, the corpus land. It would ensure easier access to the court for whānau, but dispute resolution processes are the preferred avenue, of course. So in the dispute resolution process, it's always best to resolve any disputes at the lowest possible level instead of having to get to the situation where you need to go to court. So there is a disputes process which is set out very clearly in the schedule, and to just briefly go through it in the time I have. The first step is to notify the board in writing of the dispute. Then there needs to be face-to-face dialogue to try and resolve the dispute at that level. If that doesn't work, go to mediation. If that doesn't work, there's a process through the annual general meeting or to hold a special general meeting. Then, and if only then those don't work, the court would be the next option. We believe that whānau that would have fewer resources actually need to have access to the Māori Land Court, despite the fact that it would take longer to get a decision. We don't believe that this is going to impact hugely on the overall running of the Wīpere Trust. As I said, it's an organisation that has done extremely well. They have 460 or so beneficiaries with assets and land of some $66 million. They've done very, very well over the 117 years the trust has been going. I believe that, as I've said already, that they're an example to all of Māoridom for the way to run the affairs of whānau and hapua niwi so that everybody can be successful. Kia ora.
I call Newt Karakau.
Kia ora, e te mana